Something's not right tonight. And in any case, this is the Melvin Live Show, and thank you for being here. I just want to say a big thank you because we are officially 2 months into 2 months left before we start 2021. Can't wait for the new year to come. Lots of great things going to happen, and the amount of changes that's going to happen in the couple of weeks as well as a couple of months ahead. It's really exciting, and so I can't contain the level of excitement that I have with regards to what's going to be happening and the momentum that I'm getting in terms of building this 1% 1 million all digital business is just simply amazing. I mean, today, despite the fact that it was a Sunday, I was giving myself so much energy into looking at how I could reinvent or how I could improve in terms of my systems and processes. And I'm just happy that everything is going well. And once again, if you have not signed up for the newsletter, make sure you sign up for the newsletter because today is the day that I publish the newsletter itself. Okay, so with that, let's get to today's segment and today's episode to kind of wrap up this week's focus on the business systems itself. I'm going to be answering your questions about business systems. And so, for those of you who still have questions, even after if you're watching this on the replay, you can still submit your question via the comments in the YouTube or Facebook, depending on where you're watching this from. You can still submit your questions, and I will still be able to see them and answer your questions either in the comments or if there is a need to do an in-depth video to the answer to the questions that you have. All right. And so a few things. One, make sure you sign up for the newsletter, and the place to go to is melvin.me. I will leave the link in the comments, so make sure you go there and you sign up for the newsletter itself. The other thing is that if you've got questions about systems, make sure you leave it in the comment, and I will get back to you. All right. So today we're going to answer three questions about business system, right? And particularly in this aspect of it, it's online business system. So the first question that most people would have about business system is as follow. What exactly is a business system? Now, there are various ways to think about business system, and probably the best way to think about business system is a framework used by Kaplan and Norton. This is two Harvard professors, if I'm not mistaken, and the tool that they have created is this tool called Balance Scorecard. Now, the Balance Scorecard actually challenged the conventional wisdom of its time, because at the point in time, the conventional wisdom was the following: that you would determine whether a company is doing well or not based on their profit and loss statement, based on their accounts. So, purely based on financial indicators itself, it will tell you whether the company is doing well or not. While that may be accurate in some sense, if you think about it, financial indicators are actually what we call lag indicators. Now, what are lag indicators? Well, perhaps a way to help you understand what are lag indicators is to say what are lead indicators. So let's take an example I think that many of us would be able to identify with. Now, your weight. is actually a lag indicator. Now, why is it a lag indicator? Because how heavy you weigh right now, whether you are in shape or you are out of shape or you're obese or you are underweight, for example, the reason why you weigh that way was because of all the activities or lack thereof that you had been doing in the past few months. So, for example, over here in Singapore, we had the circuit breaker in sometime, I think, in March. And it was during that time that, you know, while I got carried away with eating and I put on a significant amount of weight. Well, the weight didn't happen overnight, but due to the eating during the circuit breaker itself, it then resulted in that increase in weight. And so while the eating happened many months ago, the weight issue became a concern, several months later. So that is the difference between the lead and the lag indicator. So a lead indicator in that sense would be how many calories do you consume right now, right? And how much calories do you burn every day? Because that will be indicative of what's to come, um, a couple of months down the road itself. So that is the lead and lag indicator. So when Kaplan Norton introduced the concept of the balanced scorecard, what they say was that financial indicators are, in fact, a lag indicator. In other words, before you can talk about profit and loss, there has to be a series of activities that are being carried out. And those series of activities are the one that are within our control or purely within our control. Because financial in a sense itself, it's not entirely within our control because you can set a price for your product or services and you can do all the marketing that you want, but that doesn't mean that people are going to buy it. And so, with that as a context itself, the next level that you come down, before you actually see the financial, the next level that you think about, it's what are your products and services, or essentially, what are your offerings? What are you offering? Right? That would be the the next level. So whether you offer something that is of value to the customers or not will then have an impact on your bottom line, which is true because if you think about it, when whatever product or services that you have, right, that will determine whether are you going to achieve your goal or not. Now, if you take one more step back before you arrive at the product and service, what is that one step that you must take in order to be able to help you get to the right product and services? Well, one aspect of it really it's about the research that you conduct, right? You research about who are your target audience, what are their needs, what are their challenges, for example. Now, once you have that in place, you kind of know that then you can go out there and validate those ideas. And once you've validated those ideas, this is where you will actually put in place a minimum viable product and put it out, right? So that whole process itself, that value chain, that whole business process itself, would then determine whether you put out a product that meet the needs of your audience and if you will be able to meet your financial objectives, right? So that would be the thing to think about. Now, if we take one last step back, right, before you conduct the research, before you put up a minimum viable product, before you even talked about financial, what is the fundamental thing that must happen? And the fundamental thing that must happen, it's purely one reason why I started this show, because I firmly believe that we need to learn. We need to learn new ways of doing things. We need to learn new skills. We need to embrace new things, new way of working, new work models, so that we are able to carry out that particular value process itself, so that we are able to create the product or service that our audience would need, and so that it will help us achieve our financial objectives. And so that in itself, it's a business system. And of course, once you look at that as a business system itself, this is where you can start putting in processes in place, strategies in place to help you arrive at your end goal. And incidentally, that's what I've been doing for the last many, many years, because I've been working with schools, organizations, and businesses to help them in their strategic planning. And this is one of the best model that I've used. In fact, in 2010, it was when, good 10 years ago, in 2010, that was the time when I invested a 5-day boot camp to learn the fundamentals of the balance scorecard. I took that 5 days in Florida. I flew all the way to Florida without my wife, who was pregnant at the point in time. I flew all the way to Florida for 5 days just to learn about balance scorecard. The investment that I put in was somewhere along the line of about $10,000, Singapore $10,000. But that investment has made returns for me multiple folds. And so once again, I walk the talk because I started with learning about certain things. And then with that learning of whatever it needs, I then put it in place. I then put it into my business processes. And that would allow me to create the product. And with the product itself, that will help me achieve my financial objectives. So that it's the business system, the fundamental building block of the business system itself. So that's question number one. Now, question number two, I, I think the question that's on everybody's mind is that what is the best system for an online business? I mean, is there a system, a tried and tested system that works no matter what industry, no matter which aspect, no matter which segment of customers you're talking about? Is there a business system that works all the time? So a lot of time I get people who ask me, what is the best system? Could you recommend me, a best system for my business? And my response to that would usually be one of two variation. I would say, my immediate response, one of it would be, how would you define best? Right? And invariably, people will say that, well, best meaning, it delivers the result all the time, right? So that's one category or one type of response that I gave. The other response that I gave, sometime a little bit of a snide remark, that was the following: the best system is the current system that you have if you use it optimally, right? So let me say that again. The best system is the current system you have if you use it optimally. Now, I'm an economist by training, so I'm a big fan of the idea of optimization. So if you have a system, right, whatever that system is, and truth be told, there is no such thing as best system. There is no such thing as a perfect system. Why? Simply because we live in an imperfect world. Why? Because changes are happening every day. That the system that you put out was predicated on the idea, the knowledge, and the behavior of your customers yesterday, right? And you know that the behavior and the action and the thinking of your customer changes from day to day. And so you are almost always playing catch up in that sense because whatever business systems that you have, it's always predicated based on past knowledge, past information, past perception. So the way you think about, a best business system, if you ask me, the best business system is the one that you optimize. So what do I mean by that? The short answer to that is you optimize whatever system you have. The long answer to that essentially is as follows. No system is the best, but until and unless you have a system in place, only then that system itself is going to help you achieve your goal. So sometimes that system that you have may work. However, it takes a long time for it to work, right? And so how would you want to optimize that? You want to see whether is there a way to accelerate the process. Other times your system may be a system that will work, but it requires that you do the work. Now, in that case itself, what you want to say is that you want to see how you could look at certain aspects of your system and look at how you could automate it, right? Another aspect of system that is not optimized is that you may be creating a lot of content, you may be creating a lot of good things, but you are always making it in response to what people need. And so, in that sense, you're kind of reactive. And as long as you're reactive, you're always one step behind. And if you're always one step behind, it will mean that you are not going to be the first to be able to capture the market. So you need to work in terms of anticipation. But how do you anticipate, right? Not just being proactive, but how do you anticipate what your customers think, what your customers are going to act, what are they going to do? Well, the only way that you can anticipate that is that you have a a great amount of information that you can tap into every day, right? I mean, someone once said this, I couldn't remember who it was, but it says that if you're not spending at least 2 hours a day thinking about your future, you have lost. So, first and foremost, you must have that reliable source of information that is going to help you get ahead. That's number one. Number two, it's you must have the ability to distill the insights out of those information that you have gathered. And then finally, you need to have a series of actions to be able to help you execute based on those insights that you have. So until unless you have all this in place, you know, there is always a possibility for you to stick to the current system that you have, not abandon it, stick to it, but trim it, right? Fine tune it and review and evaluate and make improvement to it until it becomes optimal. And if I can say, you're never looking at 100% optimal business process. What you will be glad to know is that anywhere between 75% as a benchmark, it means that optimization it's at its prime. All right. So best systems, that's your question. And the third and final question that we have for tonight or today, depending on where you are in the world, if you happen to be watching from the US of A, or in Europe itself, let me know where you're watching this from. What time is it now? And in any case, I truly and sincerely am grateful for you taking time to watch this. You could be doing anything else, but you chose to be here with me. And so I My commitment is to deliver the best of my knowledge to you in a way that best help you achieve your goal. Right? And so the third question that I always get from people about business system is, can I replicate another person's system and achieve the same results? Because the thinking behind that was that, wait a minute, if you think about people who have always been, the people who are successful, right? All you need to do is to find out exactly what is it that they have done. And then for you to do the exact same thing, and you will be able to achieve that success. Is that true? Well, my thinking is as follows. I do not believe that just by doing exactly what other people have done, it's going to help you achieve the kind of results that they have done. Not the tactics, but the principles, right? And let me say that again, not the tactics, not exact things like, oh, just because he wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every day, that's what I'm gonna do. Just because he works out, 6 times a week, that's what I'm gonna do. Just because he wears a gray t-shirt every day or a hoodie every day, that's what I'm gonna do. No, not at that level, not at that level of replication. But once you understand the core principles of it, that is when you will be able to replicate that level of success. And so, in our context here, in a 1 person, 1 million all digital business, the principles are very, very simple. The principle is one thing at a time, and you just focus on that one thing. And, and then what you do is you then perfect or set yourself up to a certain level where you become proficient in that one aspect itself. And then you move on to the next thing. So, what do I mean by that? Well, the best way to look at it is, what are the core principles, right? What are the core principles? One of the core principles is consistent behavior, right? It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, if you only work out whenever you feel like it, then obviously you're not going to get the results at all. You need that consistent discipline to do it. And I prefer every day, which is why I broadcast live every day, which is why in the month of October, I've written an article or a short post every day. So one aspect of it, it's, one principle really, it's behind this, it's consistency. Without consistency, you're screwed, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other core principle that I've come to realize, it's empathy. In other words, it is the ability to understand the needs and desire of your end user. And better still, if you are able to uncover what we call their latent needs. That means things that they are not even talking about. But to put it very simply, those are the questions that they are asking, but not out loud, right? So when people meet me, sometimes they ask me lots of questions. But the one question that they have always had in their mind that they might think it would offend me by asking me that question, it's, how do you make money by making videos like this? Right? So that is the one thing that they had in their mind, but they are not asking me directly. I mean, there are a few of them who ask me directly, and I tell them my answer. But for the rest of you who do not ask me directly, you know, that is what I want to be able to solve it for you to answer that very question, right? So empathy is the other principle. Now, the third principle that is something that I have been also grappling with, but beginning to get a handle of it. It's the following. And the third principle really is there is no failure. The only time you fail, it's where you give up. So there is no failure. Everything it's at best an experiment, and at worst, an experiment that went horribly wrong, right? And horribly, by horribly wrong, I don't mean like, you lose your life or you lose a limb kind of thing. When I talk about horribly wrong, is whereby the results are so dismal that, it kind of wipe you out in this journey itself. And of course, that is something that is entirely possible. And that's the uncertainty that we have to live with. That's it. The core idea behind this is that you you want to be able to see everything as an experiment, because whatever detail, whatever data, whatever feedback that people give you, nothing it's real until people pull out their credit card and they pay you. That is the only way where you know that what you have put out, it's something that people would buy. And so I've demonstrated that to myself, and I want to demonstrate that to everyone here, that it's going to be about a series of experiments. And like it or not, many of those experiments are not going to work. But that one experiment that worked, it's going to be the one that is going to take you from here to here. So, my friends, those are the answers to the three questions. If you got a question for me, more than happy to address them. And you know where to submit those questions. But before we go, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to be producing more quality content like this that meet your needs and to help you on this journey of that 1 person, 1 million all digital business. And the reason why we want this machine, it's because it gives us that lift freedom, right? So if you have not subscribed, I strongly encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if this video have been helpful in whatever way, shape, and form, please give me a thumbs up, because this is where you help other people like yourself find this video. And so with that, my friend, I thank you so much for watching. And make sure you come back tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about how do you build an audience. Okay. Thank you. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.